One evening, as Marcus Aurelius sat in his tent, weary from the weight of ruling an empire, a messenger entered. Another betrayal, another friend turned against him. He didn't rage, he didn't seek revenge. Instead, he picked up his journal and wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." He knew some things must be let go quietly, without noise, without resistance. And so must we. Life is heavy, not because of what we carry, but because of what we refuse to set down. We cling to what drains us: unnecessary battles, toxic people, impossible expectations. But what if, instead of adding more to our lives, we started removing what no longer serves us? This is not about making announcements. It's not about proving a point. It's about stepping back, removing the weight, and walking forward with quiet strength. The world doesn't need to know, but you will feel the difference. So tonight, as you listen, ask yourself, what will I finally let go of? We are not bound by the events of our lives, but by the meaning we give them. A man loses his fortune, and he crumbles. Another loses the same, and he builds again, unshaken. What separates them? Thought. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking, said Marcus Aurelius. Yet, how often do we surrender our minds to forces outside our control? The modern world preys on undisciplined thought. We are told what to fear, what to desire, what to envy. Every headline, every notification, every whisper of comparison is a seed planted in our minds, growing into discontent. And we water it daily. We feed our suffering by clinging to stories of unfairness, by reliving past wounds, by chasing illusions of perfection. But we forget, our minds are ours to command. Epictetus reminded us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The world can take everything, but it cannot touch the fortress of a disciplined mind. When we master our thoughts, we master our lives. We cease to be puppets of circumstance and become architects of our own reality. So we must ask, are we shaping our thoughts, or are they shaping us? If we are tormented, restless, unsatisfied, it is not the world that must change, it is us. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every betrayal deserves a response. The strongest among us are not those who retaliate, who seek vengeance, who demand explanations. The strongest are those who walk away, silent, composed, untouched by the chaos left behind. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy, Marcus Aurelius wrote. And yet, how often do we waste our energy proving a point to those who never cared to understand us? The modern world thrives on noise. Every slight is met with an outburst, every insult demands a reply, every severed tie must be publicly displayed. But what if we chose something different? What if we chose to leave in silence, without theatrics, without the need for validation? This is not weakness, it is control. The moment we argue, we hand over our power. The moment we seek closure from those who harmed us, we bind ourselves to their influence. Seneca warned us, "He who injures you is either stronger or weaker than you. If weaker, spare him. If stronger, spare yourself." The truth is, most of the people we fight to correct, to confront, to punish, are not worth our time. Time is our only true possession, and the wise do not waste it feeding fires that should have been left to burn out on their own. So we turn, we step away, not because we are afraid, but because we are free. We chase, we strive, we exhaust ourselves in the pursuit of goals we once thought essential, never stopping to ask, do they still serve us? The world teaches us that abandoning a goal is failure, but what greater failure is there than living a life that no longer fits who we have become? It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. Seneca warned us, and yet we hesitate. We cling to outdated ambitions out of fear. Fear of judgment, fear of wasted effort, fear of admitting that we have changed. But growth demands that we shed the skin we have outgrown. The goals that once defined us may now be shackles, keeping us bound to an outdated version of ourselves. In today's world where success is measured in metrics, in promotions, in milestones that impress others but do not fulfill us, we must have the courage to let go. A path that once made sense may now be a dead end, and there is no wisdom in walking it further. Epictetus reminds us, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Not what you once wanted to be, not what others expect you to be, but who you truly are now. And if the road you're on does not lead there, step off. Not with regret, not with hesitation, but with the certainty that you are choosing yourself. Not everything deserves an audience, not every wound needs to be displayed, nor every triumph announced. We live in a time where silence is mistaken for weakness, where privacy is confused with secrecy, but there is power in withholding, in guarding the sacredness of our own journey. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have, warned Marcus Aurelius. And yet, we give away our stories so freely, hoping for validation, hoping to be understood, only to find ourselves at the mercy of those who were never meant to hold them. The world does not need to know every battle we fight, every hardship we endure. Our pain is not for spectacle, our growth is not for applause. In a society addicted to oversharing, discretion is rebellion. We must learn the discipline of keeping parts of ourselves untouched by the noise of the world. Not out of fear, not out of shame, but out of self-respect. There is something unbreakable about a person whose peace does not depend on being seen, whose victories do not require recognition. Seneca wrote, "Withdraw into yourself as far as you can. Associate with those who will make you a better man. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. Not everyone is worthy of our truths. Not every moment must be documented. Let them wonder, let them assume. Our strength is not in proving who we are, it is in knowing that we do not need to." Anger comes swiftly like a storm ripping through calm waters, demanding to be heard, to be felt, to be unleashed. In those moments, when rage burns hot in our chests, we must ask ourselves, who is in control? Us or the fire within? Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue, cautioned Zeno of Citium. Words once spoken cannot be unsaid. They cut deep, shaping how the world perceives us and how we perceive ourselves. We live in an age that glorifies reaction. Outrage spreads faster than reason, and in the heat of the moment, we become slaves to impulses, believing that volume equates to power. But true power is not found in shouting. It is found in the pause, in the space between provocation and response. A man who can hold his voice steady when the world shakes him is a man who commands not just a room, but himself. Epictetus reminds us, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. No one forces our hand, no one steals our calm. We give it away the moment we let anger dictate our voice. Strength is not in losing ourselves to fury, but in standing firm while it rages inside, speaking with precision, never letting emotion weaken our words. Let others throw fire, we will answer with iron. Words are a double-edged sword, shaping the world as much as they shape us. When we speak of others in their absence, we reveal more about ourselves than about them. Seneca once said, "Speech is the mirror of the soul. As a man speaks, so is he." The way we talk about people behind closed doors exposes our character, whether we are builders or destroyers, whether we elevate or diminish. In a world fueled by whispers and digital gossip, it is easy to forget the weight of our words. A careless remark spreads like wildfire, burning bridges we never intended to destroy. We speak as if there are no consequences, as if the absent cannot hear, but every word finds its way back. A reputation can be tarnished not by a person's own actions, but by the tongues of those who claim to know them. And when we indulge in such talk, we become prisoners of pettiness, feeding an emptiness that only grows. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Let us not waste our breath in idle talk. Let us discipline our speech to honor those who are not in the room as if they stood before us. A voice that speaks truth in all spaces, seen and unseen, is a voice that carries weight, and in that weight there is integrity. A man who constantly looks at his neighbor's plate will never taste his own meal. We live in a world that urges us to compare our success, our happiness, our worth. We scroll through screens filled with curated victories, mistaking fragments for entire realities. And yet, Epictetus warned us long ago. How long will you wait before you demand the best for yourself? Not the best compared to another, but the best that you are capable of becoming. Comparison is a thief. It robs us of joy, of peace, of the ability to see how far we have come. The moment we measure ourselves against another, we surrender control, allowing external forces to dictate our value. But what do we truly know of another's path? The struggles hidden beneath smiles, the silent battles fought behind closed doors. None of it is ours to see, just as ours is not theirs to judge. If a tree measured itself against the height of another, would it not forget that it must first root itself deeply before it can rise? If the sun envied the moon, would it not overlook the fact that each has its own time to shine? No man is free who is not master of himself, said Seneca. The only race worth running is the one against who we were yesterday. Let us abandon the illusion of competition, for the only true victory is self-mastery. A man who mistakes shadows for reality will forever live in illusion. We stand in an age where the world is at our fingertips, yet our grasp on truth weakens with every passing day. We see perfect lives displayed before us, crafted not by reality but by intention. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. And yet, we allow these fleeting images to shape how we see ourselves." Social media is a tool, nothing more. But like fire, it can either warm us or consume us. If we approach it with awareness, we can use it to learn, to connect, to find inspiration. But if we let it dictate our worth, we become slaves to illusion, chasing lives that were never real to begin with. The laughter in a picture does not reveal the silence behind closed doors. The achievement in a post does not capture the sacrifices made in darkness. We must not lose ourselves in this endless mirage. If you are disturbed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, said Epictetus. So let us estimate wisely. Let us engage with intention, not addiction. Let us remind ourselves that what we see is not the whole story, and that the only life worth measuring is the one we are living, not the one displayed on a screen. There is no prison more suffocating than the need for approval. We walk through life weighed down by unseen chains, molded by the expectations of others, desperate for applause that fades as quickly as it comes. Seneca once wrote, "He who craves approval from others has made himself their slave." And yet, we surrender ourselves willingly, allowing the opinions of strangers to dictate our worth. But tell me, what is the cost? The exhaustion of performing a life that is not our own? The quiet betrayal of our deepest desires, buried beneath the fear of judgment? We shape ourselves to fit the image the world prefers, all the while losing sight of the one thing that truly matters, who we are when no one is watching. The world will always have something to say, praise today, criticism tomorrow. If we anchor our worth in the fleeting opinions of others, we will drift endlessly, never finding solid ground. A man cannot be comfortable without his own approval, said Epictetus. And so, the only approval worth seeking is our own. Let them misunderstand us. Let them talk. Let them expect us to follow paths that are not ours. We owe them nothing. The moment we stop living for others is the moment we start truly living. When we break these shackles, we step into a life that is our own, unapologetic, unshaken, and free. Perfection is an illusion, a mirage that recedes the closer we get. We chase it, convinced that if we can just be flawless, we will finally be worthy of respect, of success, of love. But this pursuit is a trap, an endless cycle of never being enough. If you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in extraneous matters, said Epictetus. Yet we do the opposite, fearing even the slightest imperfection, as if mistakes mark us as unworthy. The world has conditioned us to believe that anything less than perfect is failure. But is that true? Look at the greatest minds, the strongest spirits. None of them walked a perfect path. They stumbled, fell, adapted. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury, said Marcus Aurelius. And what greater injury is there than the one we inflict upon ourselves, punishing every flaw, denying ourselves the grace we freely extend to others? Excellence is not about perfection, it is about persistence. It is about showing up, doing our best, knowing that growth comes from trial and error. The artist does not create a masterpiece with one stroke, nor does the warrior sharpen his blade once and call it done. No man is free who is not master of himself, wrote Seneca. And so, we master ourselves not by erasing flaws, by embracing them as stepping stones. The pursuit of excellence liberates us. The pursuit of perfection chains us. The choice is ours. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. We construct grand expectations of people, of outcomes, of life itself, only to be crushed when reality refuses to bend to our fantasies. Man is disturbed not by things but by the view he takes of them, said Epictetus. Yet we continue to burden ourselves with unrealistic hopes, believing the world owes us fairness, that people should never disappoint us, that success must come swiftly and without struggle, and when these illusions shatter, we call it suffering. Look around. How much of our pain comes not from life itself, but from the distance between what we expected and what is? We enter relationships assuming they will complete us, take jobs believing they will define us, chase dreams convinced they will save us. And when they do not, we despair, not because reality is cruel, but because we demanded it be something it never promised to be. Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well, Epictetus reminds us. We must unshackle ourselves from these false narratives. Accept life as it comes, not as we insist it should be. This does not mean surrender, it means clarity. It means moving with life, not against it. Expectation is a prison of our own making, and every time we let go of one, we step closer to freedom. The only expectation worth holding on to is this: we will endure, we will adapt, and we will grow. A lion does not announce its strength, it simply is strong. A tree does not declare its resilience, it simply stands, unshaken by the storm. Yet in our world, people mistake noise for power, declarations for action, and appearance for substance. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one, Marcus Aurelius urged. Strength is not found in words, but in the quiet, consistent discipline of one's actions. We see it everywhere, people shouting their ambitions yet making no progress, seeking applause for promises unfulfilled. Social media amplifies this illusion, rewarding declarations over deeds. But true strength is built in silence, away from the eyes of the world, in the early mornings when no one is watching, in the sacrifices no one acknowledges, in the self-control exercised when no one is listening. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do, Epictetus taught. We do not need to announce our discipline. We must simply live it. A person who speaks of their willpower but indulges every impulse is weak. A person who boasts of their wisdom yet lacks restraint is a fool. True power lies in mastering ourselves, not in making others believe we have. Let others waste time proving their worth. We will embody ours. The strongest force in the world does not seek validation, it simply exists. And so must we. The world is chaos, it always has been. People betray, circumstances change, and fate has no regard for our plans. We grasp at control, convinced that if we try hard enough, we can bend reality to our will. But control is an illusion. Except for one thing, ourselves. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius reminds us. How often do we let our peace be dictated by others? The driver who cuts us off, the stranger's insult, the storm that ruins our plans. We rage against things beyond our command, as if our anger could rewrite them. But the truth is simple. We suffer because we try to control what was never ours to hold. The modern world feeds this illusion. It sells us the fantasy that if we just work harder, shout louder, demand more, we can force reality to align with our desires. Yet those who chase this control remain forever at war with life itself. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control, Epictetus taught. The path is clear. We must turn inward. Our thoughts, our actions, our responses, these are ours to command. Everything else is wind and dust, passing through our fingers. The storm rages, the world shifts, but we remain unmoved. That is true power. That is true peace. We are not held back by the weight of the world, but by the chains we refuse to break, the burdens we carry, fear, resentment, regret. These are not imposed upon us. We choose to grip them tightly, convinced they define us. But they are nothing more than dead weight, keeping us from moving forward. Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? Marcus Aurelius wrote. How often do we ask ourselves this? How often do we question the thoughts, habits, and attachments that drain us? We live in an age of excess. Too much noise, too many distractions, too many battles that do not need to be fought. The modern world urges us to accumulate more possessions, more opinions, more validation from people who do not matter. But real strength comes not from adding, but from removing. A sculptor does not create by piling on clay, but by chipping away at everything that is not the masterpiece. We suffer more in imagination than in reality, Seneca warned, yet we continue to cling to suffering, nurturing old wounds and feeding anxieties that serve no purpose. Freedom is not found in grasping, but in releasing. When we strip away what hinders us, self-doubt, toxic attachments, the endless need for approval, what remains is something pure, something unbreakable, ourselves unburdened, free.